I'm Jo Sé.
I'm Leeann Lux.
And we are Two Most Wanted. It's funny, like right before we started, we could not stop giggling. Now the giggles have stopped. We are professionals.
Oh my god, we're so profesh.
So profesh.
It's been a long week and we're delirious, and I'm always a little bit giggly, but it's been a long week.
It's been a long week.
It's Saturday night. We're here on the couch doing the pod.
Single as fuck.
Single as fuck.
Single as fuck.
My phone is dry.
Your what is dry?
My phone.
Oh.
What did you think I said? My poussoir dry.
My poussoir?
She is dry.
Her poussoir is dry, baby. Clearly I'm not. I'm fucking wet. I have titty sweat.
If you're not watching, Jose is giving peck sweat today.
Peck sweat, the house down boots. Two Boots. Remember Two Boots, the pizza spot?
Yes, I walked past it today, actually.
Oh, it's still around?
It's around Essex or Ludlow or something.
Shit.
Yeah, I passed one today.
We used to have one in the neighborhood, and I live in Williamsburg, and it's
and
not there
now you have
anymore.
Apple stores.
They don't serve pizza, not yet. Just you wait.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, let's get serious.
This is a special episode because we put out... Why are you already giggling?
Just reminded me of those special episodes of like back in the day. Like this is a very special episode of Blossom where Joey's on meth. Find out how he gets out.
Oh my god, why did I have such a crush on him?
Whoa. Yes.
Who didn't have a crush on him?
That head of hair, that mop of hair, and
it was that he looked like he was on meth, and that's...
And that's our show for today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
That's my type.
That is your And funny enough, we haven't even gone to this part of the thing yet, but we sent for people to ask us questions.
We did. We asked people.
What was the first
we're
one?
coming up with a podcast. Please send us questions. And my story, I posted on my stories. My DMs blew up with questions. Mm-hmm. The first question was, are you single and why?
And we just discovered together as a class as to why her poussée is dry and why she is single AF.
Because I'm attracted to people who look like they do math.
I can't. I get...
when you're young, you have...
Are you justifying this right now? Are you justifying why you're into meth heads?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm doubling down.
This took a whole left turn.
Oh, God. I hope you guys are watching because I'm crying.
I'm leaving you alone on that side of the couch, bitch.
You see my tears now?
And do you see my disdain? Do you see my disdain?
I have tears coming down my face. I'm laughing so
I
hard. Okay.
can't with you right
down.
now. I just felt a drop of sweat go down my tits.
People actually do not look like they're on meth. But we have talked about the fact that I'm sober. Mm-hmm. I'm sober from alcohol, but I have an addictive personality. I don't like moderation, so I have to be sober from basically everything. And I learned this the hard way. This is the very short story version because this is not going to be a sobriety episode. But especially in my 20s, half my 30s, I didn't realize that I have this addictive personality. I didn't realize I was an addict, and I was only attracting addicts. And so I have dated people who are addicts. I've dated people who have been addicted to meth. I've dated people who have been addicted to drugs and alcohol and all kinds of things. And so therein lies the joke.
If you know, you know. The ultimate, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. It's,
girl.
When you're younger, you're attracted to the bad boy. You were just a sweaty mess today. It's because I like meth.
And I'm triggered.
And you're just finding out.
This is sad. Let's see how progressively worse this gets.
Great.
All right, cool.
In my opinion, your sweaty packs look fabulous.
I'm sweaty hoe.
You sweaty hoe.
But yes, addictive personalities attracting other.
Yeah, when you're young
addictions.
and you immaturely are attracted to the bad boy look.
Yeah.
And so I didn't grow out of that. I liked the bad boys.
Is this why
into
you
my 20s
think you're still single?
And I liked the bad girls into my 20s and into my 30s. And so finally, through, 12 years of therapy, 3 therapists later.
12 years of therapy, really?
I've been in therapy for 12 years, yeah.
Holy fuck.
And I'm still this crazy. So, yes, I have grown out of my desire for the bad boy. I became one. Just kidding. But I now like genuinely good people who treat me really well, thanks to therapy.
Wow, your story is so multifaceted.
Oh, there's so many layers, but again,
Yeah.
not the sobriety episode. Maybe the next episode will make my sober
Well,
stories are crazy.
that's
My drug
interesting.
stories are crazy, but
Well, let's see.
my journey is a wild one.
Why am I single? Well, actually, I know exactly why I'm single. So, I have had 2 relationships, 1 situationship with a straight man. I mean, if I had a dime. But my 2 gay relationships that I had, the second one ended when I was in my mid-20s. I'm 40 now. So in my mid to late 20s, that one wrapped up. And then so as an aspiring filmmaker, actor, all of the above, like you have to do it all. I love doing it all, so it's fine. I started working, I couldn't find any work that catered to my aesthetic because apparently I'm not enough of something to be something in a way. If that makes sense?
Are you speaking not of something stereotype wise to
Yes.
be? Okay, gotcha.
Like being of mixed race, being Native American, being Latino, being
Both feminine and
Korean,
masculine.
all the things,
Right.
all of the things.
Feeling very in between, in the middle of.
Right. And I
feel
thought
that.
that would be an asset because you stand out. But now I've learned that it makes me stand out too much, at least at the time. And so like auditioning for things where I couldn't be the thug. I couldn't be because I just didn't fit the aesthetic. So anyway, that led me to start creating my own work. So I created a pilot for like a series. And that literally took 10 years of my life to do because I had to do it all by myself. I
Yeah.
wrote it, I produced it, I directed it, I had to edit it. Like basically what normally a studio, like your smallest studio, you will have a production house of maybe, I don't know, 10 people. That includes the editor, the sound mixers, all of that stuff, right?
You did it
I did
as a
it
one-man show.
As a one-man show. And by choice, not because,
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone in film at the time. But anyway, that took about 10 to 12 years. So that literally took up all of my 30s.
Right.
So by the time I was done and to be social and to go out and date, the landscape had entirely changed. Like Tinder was like back then when I would use it, like when it was around, it was an option. Like it wasn't what now feels like a necessity. Like this is how you meet people now.
Yeah.
And so it almost felt, and hear me out on this. I mean, you've already said some pretty left shit, so this is going to be a very
No
small
judgment
left
for me
turn.
ever. Not
This
ever.
reminds me of like what it would be like. I always think about this for people who go to prison for like really long times.
Yeah.
And by the time they come out, I always think like, how much of a technology surge is that when you're like, wait, what's an iPhone? Like the idea that
Right.
people go to jail or prison, come out and they don't know what an iPhone is.
Yeah, they're like, what's a
What's
smartphone?
social media?
Yeah.
So to wrap your mind around that has to be like crazy. So I preface that by saying, that's kind of what it felt like when I was done working because
And ready to date.
I was under a rock working on this. You were part of
Yeah.
this. So you were 24/7. I was doing this. And so to wrap that all up and be like, all right, I'm ready to date. And then be like, but you have to do it on Hinge. You have to do it on Tinder. You have to do it on Grindr.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I mean, unless you want to be like social butterfly, which we've established in
Which
past episodes.
I am
we're not.
not.
We're not doing that.
this is why we're doing this.
We're not going to go sit at a bar and wait for someone to.
talk
Yeah,
to us.
no.
Which, I mean, touching on that very lightly, we didn't say this on the last one when we went to the dry bar, how like people approached you at the bar. And I'm like, I've never experienced that in my life.
Yeah.
Someone approaching me of buying me a drink. Not that I would need one,
Right.
but I would never get approached. But anyway, so that's why I'm single. Like, honestly, I think that's what it is. I think I
You
was
buried
just,
yourself in work
Yeah.
and did not make time for it. And now you're like, wait, how do I do this?
how do I do this? And
Yeah.
also, I'm an old gal, apparently. You know what I mean?
You're
Like,
not. We are not.
I'm not. I
old.
don't feel it. I have no sense of time. So that's kind
Yeah.
of, that worked with me, right? I don't feel my age.
We're
until-
not old. It's just compared to this environments that are more social.
Yeah.
We feel like we've like aged out of those environments. We have to
sure.
find the new environments for our age group, which we talked about in the last one.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
But yeah, that is the answers to those. Are you single and why questions?
Yeah.
We
So
had to change
yeah.
the type of person that I was attracted to in my brain, and I have, over the years dated better.
Yeah.
I've avoided the bad boy, bad girl type of person, the person that doesn't want to, the person that's like out to break your heart. Like, I'm not doing that anymore.
That's a lot to navigate, because you, for you, I visually seeing it as you're telling me this, I'm foreseeing you kind of having to deflect all of these obstacles. Yeah. Not just your internal ones, but also the ones that you're looking out for, right?
Right.
Whereas for me, I'm just like, why am I at the desert? Like, there's no one here.
Yeah.
Where's the party?
Needing to change the whole environment.
Yeah, so we're navigating it on two different spectrums, but either way, we're navigating it together.
We're navigating it together.
Together forever alone.
We're most wanted to each other.
Because that's how it's going to be. Nobody wants us.
So getting into some of these other questions we were asked some good questions. Mm-hmm. Do you want to go off on them or me?
Sure, you can read... what's our first question?
What inspired us to pursue the careers that we're in? How do they reflect who we are as people? I've been modeling my whole life. My mom was a model. My dad was a photographer. I grew up in the industry. I literally was modeling at 6 months old. So I have technically been working my entire life and in front of a camera. And so as an adult, I found, I was go-go dancing. I discovered Suicide Girls. I went the Suicide Girls route. That's, alternative nude models on the internet, if you don't know. I went that route until I was 30. And then I ventured off on my own under the name Leeann Lux. I was Lux Suicide. I ventured out into Leeann Lux and continued to model nude. Now, the fetish work I found actually also when I was go-go dancing at Webster Hall, and yes, and you briefly worked there too.
Yeah, they would host like the gay awards. I forgot what they were called, the something awards.
Jose and I met through a mutual friend, but we worked in nightlife, and that's where we would hang out back in the day when we were babies. We were just little puppies.
You were at Webster Hall, and I was at Mr. Black, which is like literally 3 blocks away from each other in the Lower East, not the Lower East Side, but like Chelsea, not Chelsea,
between
the Village.
The Village. I discovered fetish at Webster Hall. There was a black and blue ball, and I left the dressing room, and I see these dominatrix women walking their subs on leashes. And my boss at the time, this beautiful drag queen, Shane Savant, he was like, oh yeah, and all these guys you're seeing on leashes and sucking dildos and all these things I was seeing for the first time ever. He's like, yeah, they all work on like Wall Street. And I'm like, wait, what? I was fascinated by that dynamic.
That needs to be a whole episode on its own.
On its own. Yes, the go-go days, that's a whole separate episode. But I was just exposed to fetish. I remember looking out of the dressing room window and seeing what looked like a giant bubble. It was like basically like a globe on the ballroom stage. And there was like a lesbian orgy happening inside of it with like all this leather and I was like,
that must have been really hot. Like literally hot.
I want to that.
I want to be in bubble.
I want to that. How do I that?
I want bubble.
And so I ended up going to like some foot fetish parties after hours with a friend who I used to go with, and meeting fetish people and getting into the scene and discovering I had my own kinks over time and being part of the community. And I had left that industry because in New York City at the time, it was a very seedy underground industry.
It was a good time.
And it was a great time. And now I came back to it. I briefly lived in Atlanta recently for 2 years, and I needed more work. There wasn't enough modeling work. And a friend, a fetish producer friend of mine, a female producer, was like, oh, there's this whole wrestling fetish scene you need to get into. Like, I'll hook you up with that producer in Atlanta. And him and I became BFFs. And I discovered this whole wrestling fetish. And multi-million-dollar industry. It's just crazy.
It's fascinating to me.
It's fascinating. The whole fetish industry is fascinating. I discovered clips for sale, and I was like, oh, and I love bondage, and I love breath play, and I started working in that again. And then I fell into being a dominatrix. And when people were like, how did you pursue these things? I did not. I was a rolling stone, and I just fell into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that felt right to me.
Yeah.
And somehow it's very, you find your vibe, find your tribe. Like, that's what happened to me. And I was like, oh, I am home.
Aw.
Me and the Kingsters, I am home. I love being a dominatrix. I love my subs. I love the sessions I have. They're so cathartic in a way. Like, I genuinely love my career, and I did not choose it. It chose me.
Chose me.
Yeah.
Aw, that's
Yeah.
cute.
Thanks. That's my story.
What was my story? Mine. Where do we start? All right. So the way I got into it. Well, first of all, I fell in love with acting first when I was a kid. When I think it was, I don't know how old I was in 1994. I was a child. The Little Mermaid had just come out.
Okay.
And
10 were you?
Maybe
I think
7,
so.
8. I can't do math. I'm not an archaeologist. I don't know. But when I was that age, when that movie came out, I was obsessed with that movie.
Yes.
So much so that I wanted to be a merman.
Of course you did.
I was just like, that's what I'm gonna do. I used to.
Was that your gay awakening? That's a whole other episode.
Well, the dad.
Because that sounds like
The dad.
Poseidon.
Have you ever seen the dad? Yeah, and the way he's all muscly and daddy like. I tell you, I don't know the connection, but it certainly is the type.
Yeah.
Anywho, enough of that for a second.
The first time we were like, Zaddy.
Oof. But I saw that movie and I wanted to be a merman so bad. So much so that I truly, honestly believed I could go to college. So I remember this as a child. I vividly remember this as a kid. Going to college, that apparently was, in my mind, was like Mount Olympus.
Of course.
People wore togas. And then I specifically remember this. I remember this as clear as day. So my graduating class is at the beach saying bye, and it's me as a merman going to the ocean to go live my life.
Oh my God.
And then my teacher told me that I couldn't physically do that, that was physically impossible.
Wow, she's so negative.
I remember her name. She might not be around anymore, so...
But sweet.
She's in hell.
For crushing your dreams.
And so I felt
negative.
lost. I was like, what am I going to do? Because, all the other kids wanted to like be a policeman, be a doctor, be a fighter. And I didn't want to do any of those things. So I was just like, what am I going to do? So I grew up in a bubble as a kid because growing up sheltered in a brownstone in Brooklyn, I wasn't allowed to play outside because it was a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
And so I played in the brownstone. And I also listened to a lot of 1950s music, 60s, 70s, even television.
Yep, love that.
So I grew up watching this show called The Bionic Woman, which is from the 70s. It stars Lindsay Wagner, one of my favorite actresses of all time, because she was the reason why I became an actor. So this show was about a cyborg, half man, half machine, right?
Yeah.
Become a secret agent. They have all these cool like superpowers. They can run really fast, jump high buildings, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to do the jumping and the things and all of the stuff. And I'm like, I want to be a spy. So I'm like, all right, now, much like how I am now, once I set my sights on something, I'm like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to become a robot, man. I'm going to become a robot. And then it hit me one day of just like, well, the character of Jamie Summers, who is this, cyborg, she has to go through this horrific accident where her limbs have to be amputated. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I don't want to amputate my limbs.
No.
So at that age, I'm like, so how does she do it? How does she do all this stuff? And that's when it dawned on me, kind of like that light turns on, almost as if you just discovered something.
Yeah.
And I was like, acting. It's
Epiphany.
make-believe.
Yeah.
It's make-believe. And
Santa's
that's when
not
it
real.
started.
Yeah.
That's when it started. But, coming from being a first-generation American, because my family's Mexican, that's not a viable career. You can't be like, hey, Mom, I want to be an actor. She'd be like,
They're like,
grab me the chancleta.
I did not come to this country so that you could, yeah.
Yeah. And so
I get that. I feel that.
I never said it to my parents. I said it to my mom once, and she was like, nope. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so from the age of like 8, wanted to become an actor, but I had no way. I had no one that knew how to get into it. But I still had a love for it, and I would learn a lot of it. I had this this just kind of almost unrelenting passion to understand how films were made. So that's how I got into
producing and editing. Yeah.
Of just like, well, how do they make it? And so back in the day, they don't do this anymore, unfortunately. DVDs used to come with like an additional disc of all the bonus features, which would be like every department, how it came together, and it would be like hours of documentary. And I would watch this shit as a kid.
That's so
and
cool.
That was my film school because I couldn't afford it, and there was no way I was going to get my parents to pay for it.
Right.
And so as the years went on, and you know, at this point I'm in my 20s and I'm looking into auditioning, and circling back to what I said earlier was that I'm not fitting any of the molds that are out there. And this is before inclusivity. This is before all of this stuff. We're talking about early 2000s, like 2003, 2004, where that shit didn't exist. The Latin wave, the Ricky Martin, Jennifer Lopez, that had already, ship had sailed.
Yeah.
And so finding somewhere for me to fit in, much like my story of my life as a person, I've always feel like I'm the outside looking in. I was like, all right, on my 25th birthday, I realized that I had measured up to nothing. Meaning I'm 25 and have nothing to show for it. All the aspirations I had as a kid are still there. And I'm still hungry for it. I still have the passion for it, but I have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, all right, well, now I'll start writing my own things, because at this point, what other option is there?
Right.
And so that's when I started writing my pilot and got off the ground. And that was the whole 10-year process that happened. And now that I've completed it, I've learned so much from it, of my craft, because that's when I learned the differences between my love of myself of being an actor and then being a filmmaker. They're two separate things.
Yeah.
So, for example, if someone were to say, well, which one's your favorite? I'm like, they're two separate entities.
Yeah,
like
it's
acting,
apples and oranges.
Yeah. Acting to me is fulfilling that childhood dream of playing in make-believe. Literally that.
Oh, yeah.
There is no method to it in my head. There's no like pulling out trauma from my childhood. Like, no, it's literally make-believe to me. It is fun to be the villain, to be the hero, to be all the above.
Yeah.
And then the filmmaking aspect to me is really where kind of like my adult passion comes in. There's a story that needs to be told. Let me highlight some light on that. Or my favorite is a collaborative effort from every department to be like, so how are we going to make this happen? That creativity is there, and I hunger for that. So now that I feel ready, now I'm going out there, and now we're at a place where inclusivity is now
all the rage.
All the rage, for better or for worse. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Hot take, for better or for worse.
Hot take. Yeah, because now people are getting angry at heterosexual people playing homosexual people.
Which
and I'm like, well, that's acting.
It's make-believe.
Right. And homosexual people can play heterosexual people.
Right.
It's acting.
But but on the other side to it, I also understand the complexity of it. Like,
absolutely.
Taking away from
the
gay
community,
actors, from the community.
Right, marginalized
exactly.
Groups.
So
yes, we should have Latin people playing Latin people. That makes perfect sense to me.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, it's also make-believe. It's hard. It's a very slippery... It's very subjective, depending... I would think.
Yeah.
It depends on the project. I'd say there's one movie called Atlas. It's a huge cast. But the idea is that they all play different races. And it's not... It's like, for example, Halle Berry plays a white woman in it at some point, because it travels through time.
Right.
And the idea is essentially about... What is that thing? When you die and you come back as a different person. Reincarnation. Has something to do with that. But the idea is that the actors play different, like one, I think it was a Caucasian one, plays an Asian woman, a Korean woman. So it goes down the list. But to me, that was creative, because to me, that is such a pinnacle point of what acting is. It is make-believe.
Right.
Like,
do you have the skills to pull off being this character?
Right.
That's what wins awards, essentially.
Yeah, that gets
if you're
the
kind of
recognition.
playing yourself, that doesn't require so much talent.
Like, there's one role, I have a dream role. I don't think I'll ever be able to, I won't be allowed to play it, I think. This is hot take.
Hot take.
I want to play. Oh no, this is really a hot take. Like,
I love it. I'm getting excited. Let's piss people off. Do it. Say it.
Okay, so my dream role is, I almost vomited. That was weird. My dream role is playing a biological woman that becomes pregnant. Like kind of just like a normal story.
Yeah.
Just a biological woman that goes through the steps of being pregnant.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was raised by women.
Yeah.
Like the ratio of men to my life is my dad and my uncle and my cousin. Like that brownstone that I was saying that I grew up in.
Lots of women.
All women. So to me, I have a huge respect for women and understanding for like, duh.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea, I become like a 5-year-old with the concept of like getting pregnant. I'm like, wow, there's a baby in there.
Aww.
You know, so as an actor,
I would love that for you.
That would be such an amazing role to take on.
Yeah.
Because it is just, I like to say that a lot that really lends itself to me as an actor is my empathy that I have.
Yeah.
So that
you
would
are very
be,
empathetic.
That'd be so much fun to play
That would be cool.
that role, but I don't think I'd ever be able.
I don't think
it'll
that's
allow
such a
me.
hot take, though. I get where you're coming from, at least.
Oh my God, my titties are sweating. That's how hot it feels.
Your titties have been sweating.
No, that's true.
I get what you're saying. Look, my ex is a established actor in the industry, successful actor in the industry. He would have loved to play the role of a gay man, and he would have done it so well. His acting abilities are exceptional. He's a great actor. And, you know, in jokes at home, whatever, he would just put on like a gay character. He would always come out with all these characters. And he was so fucking good at it. And he was like, it's a shame because it'll never happen in this day and age. And I'm like, it's true. He would never get cast as a gay man in this day and age. But God, he should. He could really play gay so well, you know. And he's very much a hetero man, but he would crush that role. It would be so comical. It would be so good.
It's such a sensitive topic, like the idea of it all. Like, because again, I understand the opposite stance of it. Mm-hmm. You know, like you don't.
I get both sides of it, but it's like.
But also,
I grew up in performing arts. I'm always gonna defend the performing arts side of the argument, I think.
Yeah, the artistic side of it all.
I want inclusivity. I do, but I want the artistic side of it is always gonna prevail to me. Hot take.
I know.
All right. Our last question for this episode.
For $500, Alex.
What's a misconception about your work that you wish more people understood? I could do a whole episode just on that.
I mean, you really could. I think I can.
You go first.
Yeah, I think I have a shorter answer than
Definitely.
you would. So what is a misconception? Oh, that I think the one that sneaks up on you a little bit, because it always throws me off guard a bit, is when they assume that you're doing this for money. The money thing. And it's like, no, like if I wanted to make money, I'd go do so many other
performing
more
arts.
things. Yeah.
Not acting.
Like there are clearly some people that want to be famous, and that's a whole other thing
I don't get that.
Doesn't involve me in any kind of capacity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the one misconception of just like, you want your 15 minutes of fame. I'm like, no, because if that's the case, I don't have to do acting.
It's easier to be infamous.
Exactly, right?
To get that 15.
It's that misconception. I think that's the only one that kind of hit me in the head when you first read that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Other than that, I can't think of something else that would be... No.
Oof, misconceptions in my...
Let it out. I'm going to put my mic down so that you can just...
You're like, I'll be in the other room. Wow, so many misconceptions. Let me see. Okay, I'll start with, you know, the industry I work in, with whether it's nude modeling or fetish performance or being a dom. People think that you're automatically, as a sex worker, that's the umbrella term, that you're automatically having sex for money. That's not what I'm doing. I have worked in adult film. I did the OnlyFans route. I went worked for myself, essentially, making porn by choice. And also as a survival job during the pandemic, which a lot of people did. But that's not what I'm doing now. And also from that misconception comes, in the dating world, I'm faced with people thinking that I have more ability or more access to be unfaithful. And that one pisses me off.
Ooh.
so bad. I had to look at the camera when I said that. You saw that, right?
I felt that.
I'm eye fucking you right now. It pisses me off when
Sweating
people
again.
think that people in my industry have more ability to cheat than other people. And it is so wrong, because being a teacher, being a nurse, being a doctor, a lawyer, working in the post office, whatever, anywhere you work, you have the ability to be an unfaithful person. Having no job, you have the most ability.
Broke ass.
Actually, if you're a broke ass on the couch, you have the most ability to go out and cheat while your partner's working, to be honest.
True.
In my industry, we are all about consent. And to me, personally, consent also covers whether or not I am with another person physically and emotionally. And if my partner doesn't know that, you know, like, I would want their consent to have intimacy with someone else. My entire industry is based off of consent. So thinking that I would be dishonest because of the industry that I work in, like, that's, and I see why strippers are also sometimes considered, exotic dancers are also considered sex workers sometimes, which I think that they're doing more of a performance art than a.
Can you explain for those who don't understand the proper definition of a sex worker? Because I feel like it gets mixed in with so many other things.
Right. It's the content that you can get sexually aroused from. You know, we are kind of all, if you are posing seductively for the gram, you could be considered a sex worker. People are getting aroused by that. People are using your images as sexual content. You know, you can be a boudoir model and technically be like a sex worker because someone can jerk off to your images. So it's very easy to be considered a sex worker these days.
It's a very wide umbrella.
Very.
It's
a broad spectrum sex work, you know? I think, personally, if you are getting paid to create sexual content, that is considered sex work.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you are quite literally selling access to your pussy. Like, you know, I'm not an escort. When I work as a dominatrix and do sessions, no one gets to fuck me, you know? I mean, if anything, I get to fuck them. I get to fuck them up. No, I have, which, you know, that also can depend. I have pegged some clients. That is considered sex. That's definitely sex work.
That is sex, no?
That is sex.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
The act of sex. Right?
Now, if I had a partner, like, obviously I'm out here doing this work and I'm very single. I have no one to explain myself to.
Right.
If I had a partner that was like, I'm not comfortable with you pegging a man in a session, and I care about this partner that I'm with, that's it. I'm taking pegging off the list.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
You know? Because I'm prioritizing my partner, and that's a boundary.
I'm respecting that.
And it's done, you know? And there are people in other industries, in any industry, who could be, you can be a freaking school teacher and be pegging someone on the side that is not your husband or wife. Like, you know, you can also, it doesn't make it easier.
That's a very horrible.
People just assume that because there is nudity in the industry I work in, that everyone is fucking everyone, and it's not the case. Like, we go to work and essentially clock in and out like anyone else. It just looks different. Not like on a timestamp, but
that would have been cool. Just like
my work is on the books for the most part. I pay taxes. You know, it's a legitimate career. I pay all my bills this way. I sustain myself this way. I help support my mother this way. This is like, you know, I can pay for dates, honey, this way.
I pay for islands, darling.
I can buy islands, okay? You can take us on vacation. No, but seriously, it's a real living. Yeah. And
you treat it like a job.
And I treat it like a job, and I compartmentalize very well. When I'm in a scene for, you know, a producer for Clips for Sale, and I'm, you know, supposed to be like submissive or dominant with another woman, or we're supposed to be damsels in distress, or it's a lot of dress up, it's a lot of acting, it's a lot of silliness. We're having fun. And even if we're pretending to be sexually aroused. We're pretending to have an orgasm. We're pretending to do all these things. It's all a job. It's all very much acting. And then I'm like, okay, we get paid. High five. Later, girl. Like, it's just...
Well, it's the same. If
it
you
really
think
is
about it,
just
if you,
that.
you
Like,
think of the parallels, it's the same like regular acting, like film acting.
yeah, and that gets
It's all
way more
make-believe.
respect than what I do, unfortunately. Because
yeah.
I get paid more than a lot of actors on these film sets.
And
So-
it's also interesting because also like you look at, like you were saying a minute ago, of just like how regular acting has its tiers, right? So
Yeah.
if you're doing like, if you're simulating sex on a film,
Mm-hmm.
there's certain, I guess you do get criticized for it more. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a movie that actually did that.
I mean, movies with sex scenes, it's like these people who do these things are, especially if it's shot beautifully, they're like so brave because she showed her nipples during that sex scene that we all know is fake, but they performed it so well and it was so
Felt
beautifully
so real,
lit.
yeah.
And, you know, but in fetish, it's just like, you're a whore. And it's like, what? But, you know, there's consumers for this, though. You're buying it. So,
There's a lot of consumers for it.
You're a
There's a lot of
whore.
consumers. You're the whore.
Yeah,
You're
it's
a
like I'm
garbage person.
providing the content that you want to purchase. So it's maybe you don't. Your
Well,
boyfriend does.
I think a lot of it has to do with the taboo nature of it all.
It's so taboo,
100%.
and so the misconception is that we are like unfaithful and sleeping around, and it's like it could not be farther from the truth. Everyone
Yeah.
I work with is very intelligent and well educated person and takes care of themselves and is concerned about the well-being of their partners and the people they care about. And you know, of course there's assholes in every industry, there's scumbags in every industry, and this is no exception, but for the most part, no, I can't, you know, there's gossip in every job. I know when I was bartending, it was like, who's sleeping with who's cheating on who's dating who's, you know, I haven't heard like, oh, this producer's cheating on this person, this actor, this performer is cheating on, you know, like I haven't even heard any of that. I'm sure it exists, but that's not even like a topic that comes up because we're such incredibly honest people. We have to be in this industry to be good at what we do and to be safe. We have to be incredibly honest and forthcoming. And so of course I would be that way with my partner. I don't want to shit where I eat. I do not date where I work. I have not dated or fucked around with people at work since I was like 22. Yeah. Since like my ex-girlfriend back then. That was the last time I, you know, mixed work and pleasure. I don't do that. So it's not, and I think you have to get to know the person before you realize that they wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah.
And I know I don't read well, especially on these dating apps when I just flat out put what I do for a living. I think that they're easily intimidated.
That's why I brought up asked if you can clarify what sex work was, because for those who do potentially read it on a profile and not just dismiss it for being the stereotype, essentially.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I work just about every day and I haven't had sex in months. So
don't get me started. I'm not
having sex at work.
She's having sex at least one of us is.
I wish I was having sex. I'm having some fake sex. I have, you know, the fake orgasm is down packed. Sadly.
Yeah, no.
It's a sad thing to perfect, but I have perfected it. Thanks, men.
I'm going to stay quiet.
Hot take.
But yeah, so they both have a lot. It's so fast. Yeah, yours has so many more stereotypes, so many things,
so many misconceptions. I could really go on and on, but the fetish convo needs to have its own episode.
True. I wonder what other, I mean, because now I just feel like, oh, was it just pay? Is it just that for actors? I'm sure there's other misconceptions. I can't really think of any.
Ooh, the misconception about actors, performers in general is that because we act for our jobs, we're liars.
Oh.
And I'm like, when I'm not at work, I don't want to work. Why would I lie to you?
I'm a horrible liar. Like, I think I say that all the time. My emotions are on my sleeve. It's all in my face. You can see when I'm uncomfortable or I don't like something or this, that, and the other.
My ego won't let me lie to people that I care about. I can tell like little lies to like when people are like, oh, we should hang out. I'm like, yeah, totally. And I'm like, no, we're not hanging out.
Even then, I won't even say anything. We should hang out.
Yeah, I'm like, yes.
I can't. I think for me, the lying thing comes into play because it's a lot of work. I'm all about working smarter, not harder. And if I have to keep up a lie, that's like that. I would do that when I was younger. Like, yeah. I mean, my parents don't even know what a podcast is. I lied about going to college at first. I actually did go to college, but I wanted a break after high school.
And you were like, no, I'm totally going.
Totally going to college. I'm going to all of the college. All of the college. Collecting all of the diplomas, all of the things, all of the books, all of it. I'm such a collector.
Freaking great.
And so I lied about going to college. And I was horrible at it because you constantly have to keep up with it. Yeah. You have to remember what you said, how you said it, and who you said it to. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't. I shan't.
No, I mean, and that's my ego is like, you shouldn't have to. Yeah. This is too much work, and you don't need to be doing this. Yeah. They don't deserve your lies. Tell them they don't deserve you working this hard to lie. Tell them the truth.
That is funny.
Fuck them. Like, that's what my ego says.
Can you remember the last person you lied to? I do. Do I?
I can't remember anyone that I specifically lied to. Probably omit. I'm more likely to...
Now you're finding a way around lying. I omitted,
I've likely omitted to, and I shouldn't even say likely, I definitely do this. I will omit to protect someone's feelings. They don't need to know. And this is
it because they asked
again,
you?
If you're a zodiac girly, very Aries thing, because I'm so blunt, because I'm so harsh, because people come to me for the truth, I have to sometimes omit something that's going to just unnecessarily offend them. They do not need to know.
Well, the truth hurts. I think that's one misconception.
And sometimes they do not need to be hurt. And so I will avoid that.
Some people don't need to hear the truth. Right. Sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. Not everyone's ready for the truth.
Yeah. There are situations where I would rather it's not you, it's me. Because I don't want to be like, ugh, it is you. Yeah. It's like they don't deserve that. Yeah. And I don't want to. I'm like, that's something for you to learn and work out. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be the teacher, so I'm out. You're great. It's me. I got to go. I'll be that's me being polite. It's coming from a good place.
I have to find a way around it.
It's coming from a good place. It's just me not wanting to hurt. Like, they don't need me to hurt their feelings.
For me, finding a way to not put myself in a place where I feel like lying could be an escape. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned to not put myself in those situations. But back when I'm like, you don't think about these things. You're like, oh, I'll cross that bridge when I cross it. And then when it's time to cross that fucking rickety bridge, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta lie now. Ooh. And without getting into any of the details. Yeah. Basically, the lie wasn't discovered in a day. It was like I was like breadcrumbing, but not purposely.
That's like too much to remember.
It was just not even. It wasn't even a lot to remember. It was more like I got tired of it. I got tired of lying. The act of it, of just like putting on a front.
That's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
And I would forget my lies. That's why I'm so ADHD. If I lie, I'd forget it, and then I'd be like, "Oops, that's actually the truth."
And so it kind of that's how it happened. I got discovered for the truth. It wasn't salacious. It was actually me doing the lesser of two evils. I felt like I was protecting a friend, but like you said, not everyone deserves to hear the truth, not because they're not deserving of it, but because they're not ready for it. Sometimes they don't deserve to hear the truth
from you. It's like, is it my place to tell you this, or is it a therapist's place to tell you this? Yeah. Is this my place to tell you, or do you need to do the self-work to get there? Yeah. You know, because me telling you is just going to start an argument because you're not seeing it yet. And I'm not a teacher. I'm like, I feel like everyone has their purpose. Yeah. And I think we're all students. I think I've gone like the Reiki route, the esthetician route. I'm more of a healer. I'm in school to be a therapist. I'm the healer route. I am not the teacher route.
What route would I be in? I never thought about it, to be honest. I don't see myself as a healer.
Something to think about.
I'm more of a listener.
I was gonna say you are such the listener, which can be in the healer family, I think.
I guess so. Does it count if I mentally check out when I'm listening? I'm kidding. I don't do that.
And it's not that we can never teach someone something. I'm down to teach people some things. I teach people about kink a lot. I help people discover their kinks a lot. I'm down to teach in that way. But when it comes to their, I guess like something that they've got to hang up over, or if it's a dating thing and I'm realizing why we're not compatible, and there's something about them that I'm like, this is keeping them from like connecting, not just to me, but to people. That's something like they need to work through. I can't be like, it's like me saying, oh, it's because that's blue, but they're seeing it as green. They're going to be like, no, it's not. It's green. And we're not, what are we just going to go back and forth on this? You need to come to that, your own journey on that. True. And so that's when I feel like it's okay to omit, my exact feeling on that. And that's like a lie, technically.
Interesting. Mine is kind of in that same vein of like, I don't want to hurt you. Like I can sense that what I'm about to say, kind of like with you, or like with all of my interpersonal relationships that I have, when it comes, a lot of people come to me for advice or something of the sort. And I've done it with you, I've done it with others, where I'm like, okay, so what version of me do you want? Like, are you venting to me?
Yeah,
which I'll let you vent.
This. Yeah.
Or
do you want me to listen?
Am I listening, or are you actually asking me for my advice? 'Cause
right.
I'll give you my unfiltered advice, and I always will preface, you may not like what I have to say.
Oh yeah, I always have to do that.
And I would think like maybe 8 out of 10 times I've been asked for the listening route. They're like, no, I don't want to hear you.
Oh, me too.
And I'm like, I wouldn't either if I was in your shoes.
Nope.
If you're coming to ask me,
because they know I'm blunt. They know you're blunt.
Yeah.
It's like, unless you're ready for that hard truth, I will listen.
Yeah.
And I will support whatever decision you're making. Like, do you want my support? Do you want to know what I really think?
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting that you were just like, you teach people to be comfortable and discover their kinks, right? Which is really fascinating. And in that vein, when you were saying that, I kept thinking, what is it that I contribute to that in a way? Not necessarily to you, but like in that same path. And there's something that is really fast. We can save this for another day, but getting men in touch with their emotions is something that I find myself doing a lot.
Yeah, you're good at that.
I drag that out. I pull that out of people sometimes, especially men. They come to a place where they feel comfortable to talk to me, and it always shocks me still to this day when they say certain things, and I'm just like, they feel so abnormal talking about it. I'm like, wow, that's fascinating, because I don't, and I never did.
Yeah.
Tell me more of why it makes you feel that way.
You and I don't find most things to be taboo that other people do.
No. I wonder if that's an only child thing or just a cynical
because
thing.
We're just in our weird little minds all the time. And so when people are like, I have to tell you something, it's so weird, and they say it, we're like, I don't think that's weird.
Someone said this to me the other day. They said to me how uncomfortable they are with their own thoughts. And I said, really? Like, can you tell me more?
That's all we have. That's all we've had our whole life.
That's all I've ever known. Yeah. There's never been a moment where I've never been alone without my thoughts. So I just have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And I found that so, like, to me, that was so profound. I was like, tell me more. And as I was asking, they were inching away from me because they didn't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, come back.
I know. I want to know more.
Yeah. So that's really fascinating. Yeah.
That's who you are in people's lives.
And this is who we are. Thank you for listening.
We love these questions. We have more questions to answer, but that's going to have to wait for another episode.
Yeah. We're already kind of clocking some good time.
Yeah, we are. I hope you're enjoying listening. Please send us more questions, actually. We could always answer more and more. We have such multifaceted lives to talk. I definitely want to do a sobriety episode. I want to do a whole kink episode. There's so much. So much to come.
So much to come. Well, goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. We put out new episodes every Tuesday on Spotify. And new visual episode every Friday right here on YouTube. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, goodbye.